Welcome back to Albus Explains. I'm Albus and this is the stories of Diwali. Today I will be telling you the story of Rama Ekadashi. This story begins a long time ago, all the way in the Satyuga, where the 7 sages or the Sapta Rishi had just performed a gigantic yagna or a sacrifice, and that sacrifice, the fruit of that sacrifice was to be given to the people of the Kali Yuga. Now, because a lot of time had to occur between Satyuga and Kali Yuga, they thought that they would give this fruit to a god and he would then give it to the people of the Kali Yuga. But before the question of which god to be given this fruit for safekeeping, the question was who was going to give this fruit to the god out of the 7 sages. The most accomplished and most powerful of the sages, Sage Bhrigu, was selected. But there is a quirk. Sage Bhrigu was known for his legendary temper, and he would curse right and left to each and everyone who had crossed his path or even made him angry even for a little bit. He would curse them, and so a risk was taken by the Saptarishi by sending Sage Bhrigu. First he went to Indralok to Lord Indra, and there Indra was unfortunately sleeping at that time. Now Bhrigu thought that Indra knew that I was coming, and yet he went to sleep. That he took that as an insult to himself and cursed Indra, that Indra would be forgotten as the great hero who defeated the Asuras and everything, and he would only be remembered for his ego, the ego of Indra. And that is actually how Indra is remembered even today. He is equated with Zeus and shown that he is probably even worse than Zeus. I'm talking about Lord Indra, the king of the gods. Anyway, after that, Bhrigu went to Lord Brahma. Now, Brahma at that time was busy chanting the Vedas, and he did not pay any attention to Bhrigu when he came. Now, again, Lord Bhrigu, with his immense temper, took this as an insult to himself. And he cursed Brahma that there would be no temple in the entire country dedicated to Lord Brahma. There is only one temple in India that is dedicated to Lord Brahma, and that is in Pushkar. But that temple is believed to be built before this curse was cast. So except that temple, there is no other temple of Lord Brahma in India. So Bhrigu's curse did turn out to be true. After that, he went to Lord Shiva at the top of Mount Kailash. There, Lord Shiva was playing with his wife, and in some versions he is meditating with his wife, and in some versions they are playing. So this again, Bhrigu took this as a huge insult to himself, and he cursed Lord Shiva that he would never be prayed to in any temple in India in his true whole form, but only through the worship of his linga he would be worshipped. So, and that curse also holds true for Lord Shiva. Now, because of all this ego and this eccentricity, his ego had crystallized and formed into a gem that was fitted, or rather attached or latched itself to the bottom of his right foot, of Bhrigu's right foot. So at the bottom of Bhrigu's right foot there was a gem that was of ego. That was an ego gem, let's call it that. Then he went to Lord Vishnu, and in front of Vishnu too, he was also sleeping, and with Lakshmi ji sitting at his feet, and he saw Lord Bhrigu coming, and he closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. Suddenly Bhrigu, with his immense anger, he came again and he kicked Lord Vishnu on his chest. In many temples in southern India, there is a mark of a foot at the chest of the statue of Lord Vishnu. So that is interesting where that came from. It came from this. It came from the kick of Lord Bhrigu. Now, before he could say anything, he quickly woke up and caught hold of Bhrigu's feet and started massaging it. And in that, he removed that gem of ego. And suddenly, when that gem of ego was removed, Bhrigu realized he had just cursed 3 big gods. He had he had committed such a big blunder. But Vishnu quickly forgave him and said, "It's all right, why have you come here?" And he took it way too lightly. He explained it as if a small child kicking you, because we are all eventually children of Vishnu, according to the story. So, but this was seen by Shri, or this was seen by Goddess Lakshmi, and she did not take this lightly. First of all, Bhrigu had just kicked her husband on his heart where she resided, and that was an insult to her. And after that, her husband did not even take revenge even for his insult or his wife's insult. And thinking this way, she argued with Lord Vishnu. Now Vishnu explained that Bhrigu is just a child and he is our child, and so we should not take this too seriously. We should not fall into the same trap that Bhrigu had just come out of, the ego trap. Lakshmi ji did not listen to any of this, and she said, "If you are going to be like this, I'm going." And she did go. She left Vaikuntha Dham and settled at Kolhapur in Maharashtra. Now, when Lakshmi goes away, the person goes to ruin, and the same thing happened to Lord Vishnu. Now he too became ruined, and he obviously missed his wife. So he came on earth to find her from the Vaikuntha Lok. Both of them came to earth, and he started looking for her. But she landed in Kolhapur and he landed in the Seshadri hills in Andhra Pradesh. At that time there was no Andhra Pradesh, it's just that location. Anyway, the Parvat Shrunkla that is there is known as Seshadri Hills. The Sheshadri Hills, the Shesh in that is the Shesh Nag or the Anant Nag, that is the huge snake of Lord Vishnu under whose hood he sleeps. So he had built that place for him, and that place is also known for Adi Varaha, that is the third avatar of Lord Vishnu. The Varaha avatar had also resided in that place. So that place has a lot of attuned spirituality attached to it. Anyway, he came down and in the form of Srinivas. So because he was looking for Shri, alright, so he came in the form of Srinivas and he started looking for her in that place. And because he could not find her, he just sat at one place and started meditating. Now Lakshmi ji was soft hearted and she saw that Srinivas had come down to look for her, but he was in a very bad state. He could not eat or drink, because who can eat or drink without Sri Lakshmi? Anyway, she pitied on him a little bit, but mostly out of love, because it was her husband after all. She commanded Brahma and Shiv to go there in the form of a cow and a calf and to give that milk to Srinivas for his sustenance. They did. It was a command by MahaLakshmi. So Brahma and Shiv had to obey it. They came down and they followed her instructions. At that time, a servant of the Chola king went there and tried to steal that cow because it was giving milk. But that cow would not give milk to him. Cow goes to an ant hill and pours its milk on that ant hill, but does not yield milk to that person. Now he did not know that under that ant hill was Srinivas. That is where Srinivas was sitting. He took a stick and he hit that cow very hard, but instead of the wound settling on the cow, the wound settled on Srinivas, on his head, and the anthill broke and he saw Srinivas over there. Now he got very scared by this and he ran and told his king this. His king came there and apologized to Srinivas. He apologized to Lord Vishnu. But now why did the king came? Because the king takes the responsibility of his subjects and even their misfortunes and misdeeds. So Srinivas told that Chola king that he would die now, he would have to die now, but in the next life he would take birth as Akashraj and his daughter Padmavati would have to be married to him. And he said this and said Tathastu, means be it so, let it be so, or Amin as they call it in Abrahamic religion. Anyway, that he said, and Tathastu he said, and the king instantly dropped dead over there. But what he said did happen, and the Akash Raj was born eventually, and his daughter Padmavati was also born. Now this Padmavati was a incarnation of Sri Lakshmi too. Now one Lakshmi ji was sitting at Kolhapur, and this another form of Lakshmi ji in the form of Padmavati would have to come and marry Srinivas. Now when that happened in Tiruchinnur at that place. So when the marriage between Srinivas and Padmavati was happening, Lakshmi ji from Kolhapur came there, and Srinivas was caught between two of his wives. He could not answer anything, he could not answer any of their questions, so he just turned into stone. And this stone is the one that is prayed in the temple of Tirupati till this day. The Padmavati and Lakshmi ji, they both also turned into stones. Now there is a deeper philosophical story going on here. That is, there is a split in the powers, or let's say in the Shakti of Lakshmi. She is split into Bhudevi and Shri Devi, and all the movable assets, all the movable wealth, that is cash or gold or something like that, that is embodied by Shri Devi, and all the immovable assets, that is a house or a machine or something like that, that is embodied by Bhudevi. And Bhudevi and Shri Devi both are parts of Lakshmi, and that Lakshmi is the consort of Lord Vishnu, and that is what the Tirupati Mandir is. All this happened on Rama Ekadashi, and this is where the Rama Ekadashi comes from. This is celebrated even today in Tirupati as in Padmavati, in the Padmavati Mandir, as Padmavati Ammavari Brahmotsav, which means basically what we mean. Ammavari means mother, and Padmavati is Padmavati. Mother Padmavati is Brahmotsav. Utsav means festival. Brahmotsav means very big. Brah means very big. So Brahmotsav is a very big festival of Mother Padmavati, Mother Goddess Padmavati. And that is the story of Rama Ekadashi. Now why Rama, and where does this Rama come from? We know that another name for Vishnu in the Vishnu Sahasranamam, the 391st name is Ram, and the word for Ram has the origin in the word Ram, and Ram means basically to play or to entertain oneself. That is basically the word for Ram. The male part, the part of the man, the masculine part of that is Ram, and the feminine part of that, of a Ram, is Rama, and that is where Ram and Rama comes from. So who is the female equivalent of Lord Vishnu? It is Lakshmi, and here in our case it is Padmavati. So the story of Padmavati encapsulates the entire Rama Ekadashi, and this is the story of Rama Ekadashi. So I hope you enjoyed, and if you have your version of story of Rama Ekadashi, please do leave them in the comments. Thank you. I will be back with more. Thank you.